Hello, and welcome back to our channel, my brothers and my sisters. I hope you all are doing well. Today, we're going to continue our series, You Matter, but we're going to elevate the conversation just a bit. And we're going to do that by talking about change. So if you're interested in that content, stay tuned. And if you're ready, let's get into it. Welcome back to Choosing to Live Now. My name is Taneshia, and we're going to be talking about change today. So before we get into that, my brothers and sisters, let's recap. In our last conversation, we talked about the importance for us as individuals to partner with our future. We defined partnership with our future as being us accepting the fact that we are in the place that we're in now, even though it may not be the place that we want to be in, and using this time that we are in our now to prepare for where we want to be. And we gave tons of strategies on how to do that. But my brothers and my sisters, we got an amazing question from one of our community members, and I want to share the conversation that community member shared with me. This individual shared, she stated that she had observed in her life that so many individuals were on edge and uneasy because of the global health crisis that they had been experiencing, and that many of them were just hoping and waiting for life to go back to normal. However, they were really struggling in the idea that things have actually changed permanently. And here's the question that she wanted me to consider. She said, how do we stay grounded in our lives right now when the world around us is ever changing? And I thought that was such an amazing question, and it tied really well into this idea of us partnering with our future. So I thought we could talk about that today. So when you think about what you've experienced over the last 2 or 3 years, I'm sure each of us have our own sordid stories of the things in our lives that we've seen that have drastically changed. One of the things that changed for my family is the idea that a lot of our work is not done in a brick and mortar environment. We're actually doing a lot more work from home. And while that sounded good to us initially, I have noticed that it's been really difficult for us to have a true work-life balance, because it could be midnight for us and we're working. It could be, 2 o'clock in the morning and we're working. So we're never ever stopping work even though we're home. So we're comfortable. We might be able to wear more comfortable gear, but then there's another thing where we might be struggling with Zoom fatigue. I know that I have a lot less Zoom than I did before, but many of the clients that I meet with on a weekly basis, I see them through some sort of a platform that is a video platform similar to Zoom. So that's some of the things that I have observed changing in my family. What are some of the things you can think about, friends and family, that have changed in your world? Yeah. Another thing that I've heard a lot of people talk about is this idea that there is a lot of loss. So there have been tons of funerals, and you've heard my story about my family last year. But even now that we're in 2022, some of the newest news that I've heard from January to now is about a ton of musicians and producers from the music industry passing away across genres. And it's been so, unique. I've never heard of anything like that before, where it's been extremely concerning for me. And then in my personal life, I have close friends and family members that have lost loved ones in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and people are really just trying to figure things out. Yeah, what do we do? There are different rules about us wearing masks or not wearing masks in certain environments. There are travel restrictions. There are different things that are going on. And so when you think about what life was before, it's very difficult to imagine how we could ever go back to the way things were. And I come to give you harsh reality, my brothers and my sisters. I don't know if you ever thought about this before, but I need to say this to you. And I'm saying this in love and respect for who you are. You ready? Nothing will ever go back to the way that it was before. We will never see the world that we knew before 2020. Now, I know that's a lot to take in, so breathe with me. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let's do it again. Breathe in. Breathe out. Yeah, I know that's heavy, but it's the reality. And I know that if you're a person of faith, you might be, rebuking me right now, telling me that that's not the case. But I would challenge you, person of faith, and I would say this. Are you even the same as you were 3 years ago? Are you the same? No. How could you be? The world that we're in right now, the last time we were even in a place remotely close to this was almost 100 years ago. So no, you're not the same. If you're a human living in this earth, nothing about this world is normal or something that we're used to. The very fact that we have to think about whether or not we're wearing a mask or not before we board planes is so different, so bizarre for all of us. That should give you an indication that our mindset in and of itself, even if our activities were released and we were able to do all of the things that we've done the way we did them before we have changed. So my brothers and sisters, I say to you, things will never be the same again. Because at minimum, we are not the same. So then, you might be asking yourself, so what now? And why does things have to change? And that's a great question. And my response to that is, change is a part of the life cycle, my brothers and my sisters. Can I say that for the people on the side? Friends on the side. Change is a part of our life cycle. I know you're not feeling me, but it's the truth. There's no way we can get around change. And you know why change is so hard for us, my brothers and sisters? I'm gonna tell you. Because we can't control it. Nope. Yeah. We get so frustrated by change because change is a construct that cannot be controlled. You never know when something's going to happen that's going to alter your norm, my norm, our norm. And so change is something that all of us have become so uncomfortable with. But it seems like in this season, it's been forced on us without our permission. And my brothers and sisters, I can relate to how you might be feeling. Because I've been feeling some kind of way too. But can I tell you a little bit of a secret? Can I tell you? If you are an individual that plans out every facet of your life, because that is how you feel the most safe, the environments like we're in now could be the most critical and damaging for you. Why? Because you can't plan tomorrow. You don't even know what the weather's going to be like. This year, matter of fact, where we live, the groundhog died the day before we could even find out if the groundhog was going to see their shadow. You get my point? My point is, change is all around us. So if you are an individual that has to control everything in your life, this might be a difficult time for you. And what makes change so difficult for us is the fact that we can't control it. Something else that makes change difficult for us is the fact that we do not know how severe it will be. So first, we can't control it, but we don't know how severe it will be. Because change could be little, but it also could be epic. And we cannot fathom in our minds how it will turn out for us. Another thing that makes change difficult for us is we have no way to time it. We don't know when change is going to occur in most situations. Yeah. Especially when it comes to the passing of a loved one. We do not know when that's going to occur. Something else that makes change difficult is that we have no way, because we can't control it, we don't know when it's coming, its severity, we have no way to brace ourselves for it in advance. Yeah. We can't prepare because it's change. Yeah. And then lastly, change is difficult for us because we don't know how long it will last. Yeah. 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 And so as a result of all of these difficulties with changes, my brothers and my sisters, we tend to avoid it at all costs. But let's talk about some of the negative side effects to us avoiding change. One negative side effect of us avoiding change is that we'll lose opportunities. I know. What do you mean by that? Take, for example, someone that was born in 1920, and you put them into 2022, and you tell them that banking is online and things have changed. If they are unwilling to acquiesce to the changes in the world around them, they lose out on the opportunity, the new skill sets that they can develop. Why? Because they're stuck in the era that they're in. Another negative side effect of not being willing to embrace change is living a life that is so rigid because of fear, things that we've gone through, things that we've experienced in our life as children, or when we carry that same experience into our now. What happens is that we become very rigid in our thinking, and we become very controlling, almost to the point where everything that we do is operating in fear. And so all of this controlling of our environment around us to make sure that we have a safe space really becomes a bit obsessive and can be compulsive. And as a result of that, if it continues, not being embracive of change can make us sick. What do you mean by that? My brothers and my sisters, people who have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, are those individuals who are traumatized by fear. And so they keep doing things over and over and over and over and over and over again for the purposes of trying to control things because they don't want to deal with change, or their fear of something happening that they cannot control. Yeah. And then they're taunted in their thoughts with these negative, horrific thoughts and feelings about things around them. They cannot control them. And granted, there are many reasons why people go into that mindset that are related to heredity and traumatic experiences. But I'm giving you the idea of the worst case scenario of what occurs when an individual is not willing to embrace change. They lock themselves out of opportunities. They can become sick. Something else that can happen when a person is unwilling to embrace change is that they lose they lose themselves and the people around them. They can no longer connect or understand the world around them. They become isolated. And then we've talked a ton about depression and anxiety and different disorders that can come in a person's life because of this distance that we have from reality. And that is what not embracing change can do. So what are you saying, Taneshia? Here's what I'm saying. We already know that nothing that we've ever known before is going to be exactly the same again. Here are some things that we need to do to embrace change a little better, my brother and my sister. Number one, acknowledge the fact that change has taken place. I know every time I give you a strategy, it's always got acknowledge in it. But my brothers and my sisters, pathology begins because we don't acknowledge things in so many areas of our life. You cannot pretend like these things that we're discussing are not happening. There must be an acknowledgement. Yeah. So after you acknowledge that change has taken place, here's the next thing. Develop flexibility. What you mean, Taneshia? What I mean is that there's nothing wrong with you being the person that plans your life. All of us need a level of structure and order. But being rigid with your planning is dangerous when you do not know what's going to happen from one day to the next. Yeah. So therefore, create within your life and in your thinking flexibility. That is how you are able to live a life that is resilient. That when you are faced with a traumatic event, it does not take you down, but you're strong and you're able to move past it. It is because, my brothers and sisters, you have learned how to be flexible. Number three, recognize, I said this to you before, you can't control everything. Acknowledge it, sit with it, deal with it, process it, grieve your disappointment that you can't control everything, but really let that get down in your heart and in your mind. Why is that important? That is important because it will help you facilitate flexibility better. My brothers and my sisters, what did I say to you before? You can only control what you can control. Yep. Number four, breathe. What do you mean, Taneshia? Sometimes we can become so overwhelmed when things change that we forget to breathe. We forget to take a deep breath and center ourselves in the moment that we're in. Instead, we get so anxious and so worried and so stressed out that we can cause our physical body to be sick. And then we'll have physiological symptomology, stomach aches, headaches, not being able to sleep. Oh, doesn't that sound like symptomology related to depression and anxiety? My brothers and my sisters, that's where it begins. We have this change that occurred. The change can be anything. It can be good or it can be bad. The change could be something like, you move from one job to another. Or, like I talked about earlier, you move from working in an office to working home. It's change. And if your company decides to be the company that no longer wants to be in person, my brother and my sister, and this is your field, and this is a job that you love, or a job that you need, or that pays well, there needs to be a level of flexibility in your life to be able to deal with the reality. Because my brothers and my sisters, I give it 10 years, and the majority of the things that we're doing are going to be virtual. So for all of us who are angry and frustrated because they feel like they're cooped up in your house, breathe. I get it. All of us feel like that in some way. But being flexible is critical. Here's the next strategy. After we've dealt with these other strategies, think about this. You let your creativity guide your life through change. What you saying, Taneshia? Listen, just because things have changed, even if it's not for the positive or as you would prefer, what ways can you make a positive out of that negative situation? How can you reframe the way that you think? How can you creatively take your situation and turn it into hope and peace and a win when it looked like it was a loss? My brothers and my sisters, I have a sister. She's a sister friend. I adore her. She was working at a company for many, many years doing specific skill and a trade. She was very good at that trade. And her company closed down. And she was so concerned, like, what am I going to do differently? And because she knew about it in advance, probably about a year and a half on, she knew that the company was going to shut down a specific part of the company. And so instead of allowing that circumstance to be negative, she remembered that she had a love and a joy to bake. She's an artist, actually. A lot of people don't know that about her, but she's an artist. Anyway, and she loved to bake, and a part of her baking, she got an opportunity to do creative and artistic things. And she started a small business at home that she worked on little by little as the company ended. And when the company ended, she spent her time only doing that company. You know, because when you've been at a company for a long time, you get severance pay and all kind of things that can help you. So instead of rushing back to work, she really just took what was a hobby and started really making it more of her real life. And guess what she is today? She owns her own bakery. Yep, you heard it correctly. She took a negative situation and turned it into a positive. She used her creativity as a way to look at the circumstances she was in, not only from the fact that it was negative, because let's be real, I'm talking about extreme things. She was living in a situation where she had no income coming in. What are you going to do? But also, what if you have no income coming in and there are no jobs in your field, my brothers and my sisters? Which was sort of similar at her time. So at the end of the day, she had to survive. And so she took creativity and she let the creativity guide her to turn a negative into a positive. My brother and my sister, I would encourage you to do the same in your own life. And as I close today, what I'd say to you is this. Listen, change is inevitable. I don't care what you do. I don't care where you go. I don't care what's happening. We're going to find change throughout our life. And as it relates to our current global health crisis, there is so much that scientists do not know. But this crisis cannot be the guide of our life. What do you mean by that, Taneshia? What I'm saying is this crisis is not the end all and be all. There will be other things that happen. It has occurred. We're getting through it the best way we can. But if we can find a way to be flexible, we're going to be able to not just survive, but thrive. Because we finally found a way to be flexible enough to recognize that, hey, we can't control everything. Some things are just what they are. And it does not mean that we are failures and that we don't matter and that our life is never going to end up in this epoch, this great place of success we've dreamed of it. We might just get there in a different way than we expected, and there's nothing wrong with that. Change is inevitable. But if we can reconfigure the way that we think, we can alter the trajectory of how change impacts us. It doesn't have to be negative. There may be sad days as you're dealing with change, but all of the journey doesn't have to be negative. It can actually be positive. Yeah. If we can reposition the way that we think. Thank you so much, my brothers and sisters, for listening into this content. And listen, I want to thank you for your patience with me. You know that I want to be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, but I took a day off because my birthday was here Ooh, national holiday. Super excited. So I was not able to be here for our Wednesday, but don't you worry. We're going to have our session today, and we're going to meet again on Friday. All right, my brothers and sisters, be encouraged. Listen, remember that you are not alone. I am here with you. This is a community, and it's a safe place. It's been a very unusual and in some instances difficult time, but we're going to get through this, my brothers and sisters, together. If you like the content on this channel, please subscribe. Please don't forget to like. Please comment, please share. Please share this with people who can be inspired by the content. And know that we appreciate you every time you tune in. Listen, thank you so much for joining us today. And until next time, blessings to you today, my friend.
Just in case you weren't sure.